actually think I need some water right now. So I'm Lisa Grady. I work with Bridge Housing. Bridge is a nonprofit. We build affordable housing. We've been around since 1983. We're coming up on 30 years of existence. We've built throughout the state. We've done a number of projects in Marin County. We're headquartered in San Francisco. We have 2 other offices in Southern California. So we've built a lot of units. We've built up and down the state, as I said. In Marin County, we actually, Lucas Valley, the Rotary Village is a project that we completed that you guys all may be familiar with. It's 80 units of senior housing. It's Jeanette Prandy Way. And then in terms of this sign, we were initially involved in 2005. We were involved in a conversation that was just starting to take place about what should happen on the site. And at the time, actually, Bell Market was still in existence, was still operating in the liquor store, and then you essentially had the same context that we have currently. We worked with the county on the initial legwork in terms of getting a community process that was very engaged. A lot of people were very engaged. There were big meetings that were happening at that point. We wound up, we couldn't get an agreement with Jerry Hoyt on what the terms of the sale would be, and we were spending time and energy, and it was like, we can't do this until we get first and second. So we walked away, and here we are. Many years later, there have been, I think, at least 3 other groups that have been in contract on the site. And we have been in purchase and sale agreement for about a year now. And we've been undergoing a community outreach process that has culminated in this plan, which I didn't bring every document that I have on it. And actually, if you want to see more of the information, the images, that we have a website, marinwoodvillage.com. And all of the meetings that we've had, the PowerPoints are actually posted there. The site plan, you can essentially, we've got a long list of answers to questions and answers that have come up over this process. So that hopefully the website is a good resource for folks. So where we are currently is the basis for developing this plan was really the outcome of that larger group process that the county led and that everyone was involved in, including Bruce and a number of other people that really were very active in Marinwood, which was essentially a kind of a concept for guiding principles that should guide what happens on the site. And the guiding principles were essentially up to 100 residential units. A market was a critical piece, and then other neighborhood serving retail. So by the time that we were involved, I mean, obviously there was nothing there. I mean, the liquor store was really it. Susan Adams worked very hard to get the Marinwood Market in, and the Marinwood Market is actually a great asset for the community. I mean, it's a wonderful facility. The amount of money that they've invested actually as a company in that space is phenomenal. So the market's there. The components that we're talking about adding are along the southern side, which essentially was always kind of identified as the area most likely for residential, because that end is much more viable for retail. We have 72 units of housing. This is affordable housing proposal, 72 family units, which would be a mix of 1, 2, and 3-bedroom units, targeted towards families making less than essentially $60,000 a year, which is effectively 60% of median income in Marin County. The market stays. We're basically demolishing. Right now what exists is the market, and then the existing commercial that kind of stretches down here. The liquor store is essentially kind of in this location. We have an obligation to relocate the liquor store, and I know that they have their own constituency. They've been here for 23 years. There are a lot of people that are very fond of the family that runs the liquor store. So one idea is that they would be relocated into the retail that's being proposed on the northern side of the site. Just a thought. I see you shaking hands. So the retail components, we spent some time thinking about what the orientation should be of the retail, what the appropriate extent of the retail should be, just given what we know about the market. We've got 7,750 square feet of retail planned for this site. The northern site currently has a proposal for 10 residential units above a retail building. So that building gets some height because of the residential. It gets some visibility from the freeway, which is really important from the standpoint of viability of retail. It's still a question of whether those are going to be residential units or not. There's some thought that maybe office space might make more sense. So that's a little bit in flux. But the basic elements are the three retail buildings and then a plaza area in front of the retail, which was a really key component that folks wanted to have a gathering space, a place with seating that you could come, you could grab a cup of coffee or a sandwich and sit there and sit outside and meet your friends. That this retail space may potentially, if we can find one, have a restaurant in it, which could spill out onto the plaza as well. So we're still trying to figure out what the exact mix of folks of retail uses would be for that space. In terms of just the CSD and the revenues that are generated from the site, currently there are all of the CSD bonds that are on title, and all of those bonds would be applicable to the site as well as to the retail site, and would continue to be applicable to the market. Bruce sent me just a summary of what's being generated currently, and it looks like your total is about 15,000 from the various taxes that are being collected through the levies for the CSD. You also get some portion of the basic tax. 70% of the basic tax flows to the CSD. Currently the market value of the property is depressed because it's a mess. Viable. It's a mess, yes. So there will be some increase in property tax revenues related to the retail space. And as some of you know, the affordable residential is actually exempt from the 1% property tax. So in all, just based on what's currently being collected, there would be a bump of roughly, what did I say? It's roughly, instead of collecting about $28,000 in the basic tax, it's probably be about $55,000, depending on what the valuation is of the retail component. And then 17% of that is what would flow to you. And I think I did the math on $8,500 annually. Sorry.
Can you just repeat that last bit? You kind of went a bit fast with the last couple of sentences in terms of the bottom line of what the tax.
Well, I just did the math. So the CSD taxes that are levied, most of them are parcel taxes. Some of them are actually based on square footage, and so, for example, the sanitation district fees that would be payable by the residential component would be $46,000. The fire fees for the residential would be about $20,000 actually, because those are based on square footages. The balance of the assessments are parcel based, so those don't actually those are not really big numbers. The percentage that that the CSD collects of the basic property tax is 17% of whatever that 1% is of the property that's taxed. And I'm assuming that the retail components be assessed at about $3.5 million value. So that's $35,000 times 17% is what would flow to the CSD from that component. What they're already getting, they're getting from the market. They're getting $17,000 in taxes is what they're being assessed on the market.
The 17% you said applies to the commercial retail. On the housing, it would be half of that because of the credit?
It's actually, so the state of California offers property tax exemptions from the 1% basic tax for a variety of different things. Churches, hospitals, and affordable housing is one of the categories of things that are exempt from property taxes. You have to file every year. It's a welfare exemption. You have to qualify for the exemption. It has to be owned by a nonprofit. It has to have a regulatory agreement that effectively restricts the rents and target population that lives in this property. And it's essentially exempt you from the 1% basic property tax.
Okay.
Let me ask the question.
Because we had it in the other.
Everybody have a copy of the letter inviting them? In the letter, you can see it just looking at it. There's a chart that shows each parcel, the 4 parcels that we're currently talking about, what we get currently from each of those parcels. And what I've asked her to do was to tell us the projection of what we would get in the future from those 4 parcels.
Okay.
So can I, we don't want to lose control here. We'll end up with a very long meeting and a complete meeting out of control. So please raise a hand if you have a question. And I was going to say, I would like to, are you willing to take questions now, or do you have a little bit more to do?
Well, let me just, I just want to finish, in terms of where we
let
are.
her finish first.
Where we are process-wise is, the county, the next step in this process, we've got a plan now. We kind of know what we're proposing to do. There's a county, as Bruce pointed out, the county planning division is the governing body that actually oversees the approval. Will actually give us, we'll process the environmental review, and we'll process the land use, the entitlements essentially. And the way that this works is that it's a master plan application and a precise development plan application, which is effectively a design review application. So we have to put together a package that essentially shows every elevation, that shows the site plan, that effectively gives information about how the site would be drained, lots of kind of detailed information like that. So we are working on putting the application together, and the process of getting it together is probably going to take us another 4 weeks. So in 4 weeks' time, we were hoping to get this done earlier, but it's taking more time than I would have hoped. So 4 weeks from now, we hope to have an application submitted to the county. What happens once the application is submitted to the county is the county reviews the application. So various departments look at the application. The planning department, public works, a variety of different people touch the application to see if we've checked all the boxes that are supposed to be checked on the application. If we haven't, they send a letter to us saying, you forgot to do this, 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 and this, and so resubmit. So we're hoping we have a complete application and that don't have a second a bunch of comments that we have to come back to address. That could still happen. The other piece of this is the environmental review. So there's something called CEQA. You know what CEQA is, Environmental Quality Act. Every project has to go through an environmental review, and you have to determine whether or not there are negative impacts of the project. So the county will administer that process. The question that has yet to be answered is exactly what protocols will be used to complete the environmental review. There's something called a negative declaration, which is typically done for smaller scale projects, where there's effectively the county would make a determination that they don't anticipate that this is going to have environmental consequences. The other standard is an environmental impact report. That is a different process that actually is more involved. It has different steps to it. There's a public draft. There's a draft of the report that gets issued, and people can comment on it. And then eventually, once all of those documents, once the land use staff report staff's gotten through the review, written the report, we get through the environmental review, then the planning commission will take action on our application, and then the board of supervisors will take action on our application. We expect the process to get to a planning commission meeting and a board of supervisors meeting to probably take at least a year. It's just a long process, unfortunately, for me. It's a long process. So that's what I wanted to tell you. And as I said, if the website does have quite a bit of information. If you go online, our general number is there. My name is Lisa Grady.